Welcome to the Tomosi Business Training Series. The basis of these sessions is to support the Tomosi Group staff and management to raise their capabilities and performance. The series is also a platform to share our experience with young entrepreneurs, making an effort to build their startups in Uganda and across Africa.
To all of you who follow us on various social media platforms, during our Friday teaching sessions in the morning, we thank you and we deeply appreciate that you give us feedback on how these sessions are helping you to navigate the world of startups and your knowledge of the East African Great Lakes region as a market. The second issue, triggering closures, which is not unrelated to the first one I mentioned, is the tastes and preferences of many Ugandans. Now, fish are people, milk people, banana and gonja people. They still keep their business processes outside the supermarket chains, on the streets and on corner shops like the ones I mentioned before. This is where a majority of Ugandans like to buy their food. I have often seen some Ugandans who prefer to watch a goat or a cow being slaughtered with all the blood in order that they enjoy it. They say the more they see this, the more they feel they have something healthy and fresh. This is often what keeps the sale of cooked meats, plantains, and the phenomenon of kafunda drinking places across our country that you find many men, especially men, fellowshipping in quotes. They fellowship their problems away in the evening in this kafunda, in these bufundas, not in a bar that is in a high-end part of town. This partly explains the low level of supermarket penetration. In fact, in a study done in 2018 in the city of Abeokuta, in the capital of Ogun State in southwestern Nigeria, that study showed that over 50% of the men in that part of Nigeria get their daily energy intake, their calories, from roadside food sellers. In Uganda, when I check, the numbers range between 27 to 36%. This is not small. When you consider that the total number of people using supermarkets are less than 4%, if I take the figure of URA of the total number of taxpayers, if you even use that figure, the ones who use the supermarket out of 42 million is 4% or less, even much less, I guess. Now, even I personally, I am not immune to this. My favorite road stall market is in a place called Bugonzi on a Mudara, which is a short distance after Lukaya town in Kalungu district on the Mbarara Masaka Road. At this Mudara, a friend of mine, I call Mchala Namatovu, a middle-aged lady, I call her in advance. She prepares all my fruits, or I just park my car and she does the preparation. And often when I forget to even pick cassava from my own farm, I stop by at her Mudara here, and me and her walk together to her garden, a hoe in hand, and I choose the type of cassava to harvest from her garden. She cleans it up, she packs it in traditional ndagara, or what we call endere in Runyachitara, banana leaves, and I bring it home fresh for our meals. It is the same in Nakawa market. A lady called Diana from Bushenyi brings me all sorts of fruits and vegetables, even when I have just been in the larger retail outlets nearby at Lugogo to buy grain and cereals. This is why I find the harassment of food vendors off the streets, instead of planning for them, I find it unhelpful in a developing country. Yes, they often make the city unclean. Yes, they could sell half-cooked food, or they could even cause certain diseases. But let me tell you, food vendors are often the only link between the farmer in Kalungu and the consumer, not the high-end supermarket chain. They therefore need organization. They need to be organized, not just beaten off the streets. The thing I have not understood, though, I haven't understood this yet, is why even for some vendors across our cities in Uganda, when the large local government markets are built, such as the one in Hoima, Gulu, Soroti, and many other areas, These food vendors, they do not want to use them as trading places. I haven't understood why. In some parts of the country, I've found local authorities even trying to tax them on the streets. Instead of aggregating them in particular areas, offer them a chance to grow so that they become homegrown retail outlets. We also have to remember that the competition between the traditional food stall and the supermarket is also on fresh, healthy foods we know as Ugandans, and the foods on the supermarket shelves that often last months and are shipped from across the seas. Now, if you have children like me, if you've been blessed with children, you know you have these sugary, often packed foods that are kept for long periods. As a parent, you have to fight more for better fresh foods that come from your own farmer production systems, even if these systems are being invaded by chemicals in gardens these days. You prefer to do that than to rely on what the supermarket brings. The point to not to lose sight here is this, that until we integrate the production systems of our farmers in Uganda, until we scale them, until we standardize them, in order for them to supply the value chains that lead us to the larger global supermarket chains that I spoke of in the last two segments, it will remain difficult for supermarkets to get the necessary scale to become profitable and expand in our countries. But let me tell you something. This is an opportunity for many young people. After all, where there is a need, there is a business opportunity. With the right understanding and minimum actualization and creation of the necessary awareness with the farmers, there can be space for business growth in aggregating the farmers' production to the standards the supermarkets here and in the region and beyond require. The final reason, that was my number two. The final reason, in my opinion, why retail outlets are closing is pricing. As an example, a tin of yogurt, which we produce and sell at, say, Uganda shillings 2,000, the imported yogurt sells at double, even triple, even more in the supermarkets. These prices are driven by taxation, as we know, of these products. Taxation is often in the region of 70% final consumer price of what you see on the shelf. When you add taxation to shipment from other sources of production in the West, in Europe, you remain with European and American companies on those supermarket chains that really produce cheaply, especially where we have invested for dairy products. They give subsidies to their farmers in the north, in Europe, and they simply dump their products on the local markets in Africa. This is why some brands of honey, margarine, jam that we could make in Uganda, you see them imported, side by side with Ugandan products on the supermarket shelf. Often Ugandan products healthier, cleaner, and short shelf life. Now, these international ones do better than our locally sourced honeys because of the subsidies I spoke about. This is why powdered milk, for example, the sachets of powdered milk often sell cheaper than fresh milk from your farm. In parts of West Africa, I have been told recently that European companies have even negotiated, they've made a case with ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, to keep taxes of powdered milk as low as 5%. This obviously undermines local production efforts of milk and milk byproducts, and it keeps farmers poor, yet the populations in Africa are rising, which means the market is growing, even if the purchasing power might be low in the short run. I think because of the absence of the logistical supply routes and chains from other parts of Africa that produce more milk into West Africa. Africa is the only continent with the unfortunate situation of high production in one part, like we do in East Africa and Uganda, and hunger in another part of the continent, which we can't reach. because of lack of land, sea, and air logistic infrastructure and distribution lines. This won't last long. If we use our borders, remember, I said we use our borders as points of trade and growth in our last segment, this situation will end as soon as young people start their own businesses and know how to cross those borders and make sense in those markets. Therefore, in conclusion, the closure of retail outlets tells us something about the disconnectedness of the farmer, of the fisherman, of the milkman, of the furniture assemblyman, the cotton man, of the welder, the disconnectedness of these crafts from the sale outlets, which are supermarkets. What should therefore worry you or concern you who is listening to me is not the absence of a supermarket. No. It is the limited production at a farm level and the poor distribution and logistical networks in our country and in the region. This is what we should compel both our political leaders and our planning bureaucrats to focus on, to allow us trade at lower costs and to enforce standards. I thank you. Next week we'll speak about decision making in business.
We would like to hear from you. Please email us at info@tapmedia.com and visit our website at www.tapmedia.com. You can also visit our offices located at Tomosi Business Park, Luzira, Port Bell Road, or call 0414 220 702. Thank you.